Welcome to ThinkTech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm Jay Fidell.
And I'm Duke Oishi.
Until now, there's been no utility-scale wind power in Oahu. In our show tonight, we'll take a trip to the new First Wind 30-megawatt wind farm at Kahuku, which will start commercial operation in the next few days.
We'll talk with Keko Kaluhiwa of First Wind, and we'll tour the facilities and see the brand new wind turbines and storage system at Kahuku.
First Wind is a wind energy company out of Boston, Massachusetts. Its various wind farms around the country produce a collective total of more than 500 megawatts.
In 2008, First Wind's 30-megawatt wind farm at Kahuku, Maui went online and has been operating ever since.
Now, in 2011, First Wind is going to the next level. They're expanding the Kahuku wind farm with wind turbines that will generate another 20 megawatts, and they're hoping to build a wind farm in Molokai that will generate between 200 and 350 megawatts.
But most important, First Wind is just about to open a 30-megawatt wind farm they built at Kahuku, which is the first utility-sized wind farm in Oahu.
So ThinkTech visited Kahuku this week to see what the wind farm there looks like and how it works. When we got there, we were met by Keko Kaluhiwa.
Keko is Director of External Affairs for First Wind in Hawaii. This includes grassroots community outreach, interaction with policymakers at the local, state, and federal levels, and collaborative efforts with stakeholders working to implement the goals of the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative.
Before joining First Wind, Keko worked with Senator Daniel Akaka for 11 years. He graduated with a master's in public administration from UH Manoa and a bachelor's in political science from the University of Washington.
Last year, Keko gave us a tour of First Wind's wind farm at Kahuku near Kihei. Here's the footage we took that time.
This is Kahuku Wind Power, and it's a 30-megawatt wind energy project. It consists of 20 wind turbines made by GE, each turbine capable of producing about 1.5 megawatts of electricity. That equates to approximately 9% of Maui's energy, or roughly 11,000 homes. This project was completed in June of 2006. These 20 turbines, the project as a whole, cost nearly $77 million. We're hoping to go into construction in 2011 on another 14 turbines similar to these towards the Makai part of this ridge. That'll provide another 21 megawatts. First Wind currently has this project here on the island of Maui, as well as 6 others in Maine, New York, and Utah.
And last week, we drove out to Kahuku to take a look at First Wind's new wind farm there. It's been under construction for the past few months, and it's almost ready to go online. We were privileged to have a tour of the wind farm on the eve of its startup.
Everyone knows Kahuku is on the northern tip of Oahu, an hour's drive from Honolulu. Its coastal lowlands are home to inland springs and shrimp ponds. Limestone bluffs separate the many small farms along the highway. Well known for its sugar plantation, diversified agriculture, and aquaculture during the 20th century, Kahuku has a rich history in the oral tradition of native Hawaiians.
One legend says that Kahuku, literally fishhook, was a floating island off Oahu's coast. The Menehune there would bring the island to shore each night to collect water. One night, the people of the main island used whalebone hooks and olapa ropes to hook the floating island, securing Kahuku as part of Oahu to this day.
Keko met us when we arrived. He showed us the 12 turbines close up. They're cutting-edge tech and quite spectacular. Each is 80 meters high, that's 240 feet, and the blades, made of balsa, are 55 meters long. Each produces power of 2.5 megawatts. They're not all spinning yet, but they're certainly powerful, graceful, and poetic, standing along the ridgeline there in Kahuku. They'll all be online in the next few days, powering some 7,700 homes.
Kahuku is, the tower pieces anyway, are 55 meters. These are 80-meter towers. From ground level, surface level, to the tip of blade, when the blade is vertical, these are about 425 feet in height. But that's sort of how the technology is going today. Yeah. Bigger, you know, the total capacity of this project with 12 turbines at 2.5 each, that's 30 megawatts. We have 20 turbines on Maui that also combined produce 30 megawatts. So these 12 basically can produce as much as those 20 on Maui. So, well, the one on Maui was made by GE. These are made by Clipper. Clipper's out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. That back side of the nacelle that we're looking at is actually a hatch that can open up. They can drop down whatever machinery they need to replace or repair from within the turbines. It's great. It's cutting edge technology. Tower pieces are steel. The blades are actually balsa wood that's encased in fiberglass. So they're big. They're fairly light though. I think they're about 33,000 pounds a piece. All automated. Each of the turbines are actually independent of each other. There's a computer system within the tower piece that tells it which way to turn and which way to pitch the blades. We have an underground cable system that ties in all of the turbines down to our substation, and from there onto HECO's transmission lines. And as I mentioned to you earlier, we are actually almost ready to go into commercial operation. Yeah. So you may be one of the first visitors here officially.
I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, within the next few days, we're hoping to go online officially. These turbines, the maximum they'll rotate is about 14 rotations a minute. Fairly slow. And that's sort of how the technology is moving. Larger blades, but slower moving. We have what's called a habitat conservation plan. And our wind project on Maui was the first to have one, an HCP. This will be a second here at Kahuku. We have full-time biologists that work here, full-time on-site, to mitigate against any sort of injury or impact, minimize impact to some of the bird species that are known to inhabit the area. We're the first wind energy company to have an HCP for any wind project in the United States. This particular model has 4 pieces to the tower, 4 tower pieces, 3 blades, and then again the nacelle, that rectangular piece on top, is where all the magic takes place. The total weight for one of these is about 1 million pounds. It's pretty heavy.
250 tons.
That sounds about right.
I think that's right.
1 million pounds?
1 million pounds. We used one of the largest cranes actually available today. It's actually, I believe it's called a Manitowoc 18,000.
Oh, wow.
It's one of the biggest cranes in the Western Hemisphere, as I've been told.
You had to bring it into Hawaii.
Yep, yeah. We had to bring it out here. It was amazing though, it was huge. It was a big crane, but it got here in pieces. It was trucked, through the North Shore in pieces. No one even knew what it was until it was erected here. One of the challenges we had was, of course, getting these pieces to Kahuku from Barber's Point, where the ships were docked. So it was quite a feat. We are very, very grateful to the North Shore community for their patience as we trucked all of this out. Like I said, 4 pieces to the tower, 3 pieces to the blades. We basically did it in about 6-7 weeks time, most of that done at night. Of course, the blade pieces are the longest. They're a little over 150 feet each. So if you include the length of the
they don't
truck,
come in sections either. They come in blades.
One long piece. The truck drivers did a phenomenal job. But this project in total cost around 115 million. We need all the renewables we can get.
Absolutely.
If anybody can get off of imported oil, it's Hawaii. To me, it's all about how we utilize the technology of today with the values that we've all been raised with here in Hawaii, using our local resources. Once we go into operation here, we're actually going to be having someone raise cattle here on the property, right in the middle of the turbines, to sort of maximize use of the land, maintain the integrity of the area. We own about 500 acres down below. These 3 up here are actually on land that we are leasing right now, about another 70 acres or so.
For one side.
For this area, we're actually maxed out. These 12 are all that can be accommodated here. And if you look way out there towards the ocean, you'll see a MET tower, meteorological tower. Essentially, we're taking readings from that tower and comparing it to what the turbines are doing to ensure that they're working properly. So wind turbines today, including this one, they can actually rotate 360 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Depending on which way the wind's blowing.
Wow.
So that nacelle up there can spin 360 degrees. The blades can pitch in and out of the wind. That's how we control how fast they're going to spin. Another thing that's really cool about this project, we'll take a drive down there. I'll show you, at least from a distance, the battery facility that we have. And this is the first wind project in the United States to have a battery component applied to the project. So we're very excited about that.
Oh, can we see those are the extreme batteries?
That's right.
And
That's right.
this is the first project they're actually being used at.
For a wind project. Yep.
On a
Yep.
commercial scale.
That's right.
Yeah.
I believe this is the largest that Extreme has also built. It's 15 megawatt. So wind energy is variable, right? The wind will go up and down in a matter of seconds. So what that battery does is it allows us to provide a smooth, basically a consistent output from the wind farm to Hawaiian Electric's transmission lines, which is something very important to the utilities. Hawaiian Electric is able to monitor this project from a remote location. If there is a fault in their line, if a utility pole goes down, a car accident, they're able to actually shut off our output within a sub-second amount of time. If we wanted to stop producing, they would pitch, the blades would actually turn directly into the wind.
Right.
To basically stop the turning. It can also freewheel without creating any energy. These will be monitored. They can be monitored by Hawaiian Electric, as I mentioned. The turbine manufacturer, Clipper Wind Power, can actually monitor this from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We have our own monitoring system where we have an office in California.
We also saw the facilities building at the wind farm, took a breather in their brand new high-tech teleconference room, complete with all the red mud we tracked in on our shoes, and we met the operations manager, Patrick Leary.
So here we are actually at the heart of the project. This building before us is the operations facility. To the right is actually our office space, a conference room that we have for our outreach activities. And then to the left of the building is actually where we store all the pieces or the extra parts for the turbines, all of the mechanical equipment. And then if you look to the right, the next building over is actually the battery facility. As I mentioned, we have a 15 megawatt battery that was manufactured by Extreme Power out of Texas. This allows us to store some of the energy and sort of smooth out the output from this wind farm to the utility lines, the transmission lines. So it's cutting edge technology, the first of its kind to be applied to a wind farm in the United States. Right before you on the corner of the building is a microwave communications system. And it's basically, it allows Hawaiian Electric to monitor what's happening here on site. And if there's a fault along the line, as I said earlier, a utility pole should go down. Hawaiian Electric can actually shut off the energy or cut the energy coming from this wind project under a second, a sub-second reaction. So something else that's really innovative with this project. And as you look further on to the right here, before us is the substation where all of the energy from the turbines is actually collected. The right side of the substation is owned by First Wind. The left side is actually owned by Hawaiian Electric. So that's exactly, right before us is where the power is actually transferred from the wind project to the utility.
So the wires going to the left will be going to HECO.
Yep. So right behind of the battery building, you can't see it from here, but the transmission lines run towards Kahuku and then on towards Haleiwa, 46 kV.
So I was working as a chief engineer for a cruise line. He landed the job, just seemed like the maritime industry fit really well with what was going on here. These are like engine rooms on a toothpick. You get up there, you feel like you're in the engine room of a ship. You know, the difference is that you don't have a gas engine turning the shaft that runs the propulsion or the generators. A little bit stronger. I mean, our ships didn't absorb 2.5 megawatts. Yeah, this equipment, we're just installing it today. Basically, this is going to be to mitigate air travel, rather than having people fly in and out all the time for meetings. We're actually, once we have this set up, that's a camera right there. We'll have video conferencing. These turbines, because they're under warranty, they're technically controlled as the operator by RMDC, which is a remote monitoring center that Clipper Wind Power has put together. So they actually control these turbines. Well, you don't want the rooster watching the hen house, so we developed our own monitoring center 24 hours as well. RMDC for Clipper Wind Power is located in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and our Data Analysis Control Center, which our monitoring center, is located in Temecula, California, and Boston, Massachusetts. So there's a lot of eyes around, and every site can be taken over remotely. I have access with a local computer, so if I need to, take control of the park, I can as well. These turbines aren't going to spin out of control if they're left unmonitored. Really, the monitoring is just to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to. It's just a check and balance. And you do have to apply some manual control when you want to remove them from service, but they'll take care of themselves. Bad weather comes up and they don't like it, they'll shut down. Anytime that you disturb the safety loop, the turbine just goes into a shutdown mode. It'll remove all the power from all the equipment, and it has an emergency battery system that's in the hub itself that'll turn those servos and pitch those blades so it won't spin anymore. Yeah, and all it'll do is just sit there and wait to, for someone to come up, a technician to run up there and reset everything and make sure everything's okay.
We were privileged and delighted to take a tour of this high-tech addition to renewable energy sources for Oahu on the eve of its startup. It was impressive, if not beautiful, and it was a treat to see it in all of its majesty in the moment before it goes online.
If you want to know more about First Wind or the new wind farm at Kahuku, or if you want to contact them and take a tour yourself, check out their site, kahukuwind.com.
There's some great promotional videos on First Wind's parent site, firstwind.com, and they're worth looking at. Here's one entitled Clean Energy Made Here, showing how wind projects across the country are helping to bring about American energy independence and restore local economies.
Pulls his hat down, it's first time up to the plate. That April sunset on that green grass, a big grin on his face. And with the crack of that bat, a dream is born, yeah, the whole town's on its feet. In that fireworks sky, old glory flies, reminding us life is sweet. Yeah, that's when America's beautiful. Yeah, these are the moments when we shine, when we know we've done something right. That's when America's beautiful. We got dirty streets, broken people, a mighty long way to go. But when we're standing here singing, shoulder to shoulder, we come pretty close. Yeah, these are the moments when we shine, when we know we've done something right. That's when America's beautiful.
You know, we've been waiting for commercial wind in Oahu, waiting a long time. Neighbor islands have had all this action, but until now, this is the first commercial wind facility in Oahu. So what does it mean, Duke?
Honestly, I was blown away when we drove past it and got to take a tour of the facility. These turbines are beautiful in my mind.
Yeah, fantastic. And the whole area is beautiful. It was a great trip. It was great to be there. It was quality time. And now, here's our ThinkTech calendar of events.
This Thursday, February 24th, ThinkTech and the Hawaii Venture Capital Association will present a luncheon program on the business opportunities presented by the APEC Summit next November. Our panel is awesome. Lieutenant Governor Schatz, Ambassador Lauren Moriarty, Jim Tolfson of the Chamber of Commerce, Dick Baker of the East-West Center, and our own Darren Kimura of Sopaji. Sign up at hvca.org or thinktechhawaii.com.
On March 23rd, ThinkTech and HVCA will present a major half-day program called Housing in Hawaii, dealing with our problems in providing housing for Hawaii's people.
On April 28th, ThinkTech and HVCA will present a luncheon program called Reciprocal Investments Between Hawaii and China.
And now, here's Bill Spencer, president of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association, with this week's Spensation.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, the Department of Taxation came out with their annual mandated report on Act 221. And the press has, of course, jumped all over it, highlighting the fact that there was a reduction in the number of jobs created in the last year compared to previous years. I think this is silly, of course. We've had the worst economy you could imagine in the last couple years. Unemployment was high. But again, it gets back to the fact that legislators, lawmakers, the bureaucracy, and the press never understood the real reason for Act 221.
Yeah, and this report really reveals that they still don't understand.
It's true. It's frustrating. I mean, this report came about as a result of legislators wanting to have some cost-benefit analysis, but they simply don't recognize that this was a long-term strategic play. The 15 years before Act 221 came into being, there was only $500 million worth of investment in Hawaii, and $300 million of that was in one company. Act 221 stimulated $1.4 billion in investment in the last 10 years, and there is a very good chance that some of the companies seeded with that investment dollar will hit home runs, but they're not going to hit them overnight.
They don't recognize the fact that as a point of good management, you decide where you want to go, namely diversification. You decide what strategic industries you want to build, namely technology, and then you do it. One way or the other, you do it. Even if what we did was not, the exactly correct thing. What's the initiative now?
Well, I think the initiative is still to show the world that Hawaii can produce great companies. And all it takes is a couple of home runs to put us on the map. And now maybe Act 221 used a shotgun instead of a rifle. I know some people will argue that. But at the same time, as I said, the amount of investment dollars that came to the table previously was drear over a 15-year period. So, I think we were able to get at least some people locally to invest in their own backyard and give some of these entrepreneurs a chance to succeed. But I don't think the story is over. And that's what these press reports are trying to indicate, that Act 221 didn't do its job, which was to create jobs. That's something they made up. That wasn't the point.
So what's your advice to them now?
My advice is first of all, be prepared to invest more in Hawaii's opportunity to diversify its economy. There's some bills right now in the legislature that affect the energy industry significantly, reducing or eliminating some of the credits. This could just kill the effort to grow the energy sector. You know, what are these guys thinking? We can look to them, we can hope they'll be supportive, but I don't think we can depend on them. We've got to do it ourselves.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of ThinkTech, but first we want to thank our underwriters.
Thanks to the Scheidler Family Foundation. Jay Scheidler, through the Scheidler Family Foundation, supports a number of educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including ThinkTech.
Hawaiian Electric Company, HECO and its affiliates MICO on Maui and HELCO on the Big Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho. Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company which has a large presence in and commitment to Hawaii.
The High-Tech Development Corporation, HTDC, is a state agency dedicated to Hawaii's tech industry and the diversification of our economy.
Okay, Duke, that wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week, just like Duke does. For additional times, check out oc16.tv.
For lots more ThinkTech videos and for underwriting and sponsorship opportunities on ThinkTech on OC16, visit thinktechhawaii.com. Be a sponsor and help us reach Hawaii.
Tune in next week for our show on the amazing kids participating in the upcoming science fair. I'm Jay Fidell. Aloha, everyone.
And I'm Duke Oishi. Aloha, everyone.